a superhuman. There's so many movies about superpowers, whatever it is. It could be seeing something extra, being able to do things which people cannot do, and all the rest of it. And actually, if you just Google how to be a superhuman, you will come up with 16 million results of answers how you can become a superhuman. And today I'm so excited to have Adrian Hales again back in my studio, because with Adrian we had so great conversations. And Adrian, people love you so much. And today we'll be talking about how to become a superhuman. Thank you so much for coming back.
Pleasure to be on the show again. I think I always like these conversations because we get to the depths of the depths as you talk about, which is nice because we get to what people really want to hear about. Surface conversations, yeah, they're good, but it's about getting into the depths of everything, because that's where the transformation happens, right? So it's great to be back on the show. And apologies if my hair's sticking out the slide. I've obviously got a coronavirus haircut. I'm in desperate need of a little trim.
We all need it, definitely, that's true. But actually, Adrian, you look really good. So don't worry about that. You look excellent. And I'm sure people will love you, because it's not about how people look. It's about what they say and what value they can give to others.
I agree.
So let's not worry about that, because as you can see, my hair is getting longer as well. And also start growing my fringe back because it's a coronavirus lockdown. What can we do? But again, it's about discovering something really extraordinary within yourself, which will keep you going through this time, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, with what's happened with coronavirus, there's some unfortunate things that have happened around people dying, which is, my heart goes out to families that have lost loved ones. And then on the other side, you've got people now that are realizing that after having time for reflection, that they can redirect and change their life and maybe start that creative passion, which they started when they were younger in their teenage years. And actually bring that to the world. So we're seeing a lot of people now maybe change careers, maybe have some time off, and starting those creative passions, which is really why they're here, to bring those gifts and those talents, as I call it, those superhuman talents, gifts and abilities, and bring those and nurture those to give that gift to the world. As you spoke about, it's important to bring value in this interaction with myself and you. But it's also important, I think, for others to recognise their value and bring that to the world, whether that be coaching, creative arts, whatever that is for others.
Very true. Very true. And I must say, actually, you already received so much love. Howard on YouTube, those who are on Facebook watching us or LinkedIn will not be able to see that comment from Howard, but he says, our main man, Mr. Hales, in the house. He's a big fan of yours. And actually, I remember when I was asking this question, who you would like to see in my live show, he was the one who was like, oh, we want to see Adrian. So yes, Howard, he is back, because we deliver.
I think a bit of a shout out to Howard is, a lot of people in life want change, whether that be a coach, whether they be in business, whether they be a professional, someone that's younger. We desire to have change in our lives. But the most important thing is scheduling time to invest in ourselves. Like Howard could be doing anything now. He could be going out. He could be out in a park. He could be out with friends, whatever. But the fact that he's here, learning, listening from us means that he's open to learning and applying that knowledge, because that's one of the fundamentals to progressing is being open to continually learn as well. So shout out to Howard.
Oh, yes, 100%, exactly. And I think, and I wonder what you're going to say about this, Adrian, but I think becoming a superhuman, becoming somebody who is having extraordinary life and results and whatever else, like qualities, starts with investing into yourself. And right now, everybody who's watching us right now on LinkedIn and maybe YouTube or Facebook, they are investing their time into themselves. And this is really, really powerful. And I love the comment from Monish on Facebook. When you can become role model for others and inspire others, and only you can become superhero. How powerful is that? That's very nice, isn't it? Because that's true. Because you want to be a better person in order to inspire, motivate, help others, and educate as well. You can't really help if you haven't helped yourself. But Adrian, I love your work and I love what you do. You work with high performance. You work with people who actually want to be better. But I really wonder, have you had your own journey of becoming superhuman? Because we have so many people who are teaching something what they never actually did themselves. And I wonder whether you had this journey of becoming superhuman, and what was your journey like? What was your struggles and dreams on the way to that? And, what was your journey like, really?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And to answer that, what happened when I was younger is that I found school really challenging, because I just couldn't concentrate for long periods of time, because I wanted to be out expressing myself doing sport, because that's what gave me some self-expression as a child. That was my creative expression, and I love running, and I was in all the sports teams at school. And when I was younger, I moved around a lot, so I was never kind of fixed in one location. I'd spend a couple of years in a place because my dad run pubs. So childhood was quite challenging for me because I had no kind of foundation, and I really struggled at school with being bullied, and not all the time, but some of the time I struggled with that, and the teachers not really knowing what to do with me because I had loads of energy. I was either fighting, getting in trouble, and my school years, I came out of school with no qualifications, but a passion, really, a fire ignited in my belly to be somebody someday. I mean, I wrote a post about this, about looking out the window, daydreaming, imagining who I could be, mainly because it was so tough. My struggle at school was, no matter how hard you tried, the criteria for success which the other kids had wasn't my criteria. So that was really tough. That was quite tough for me. So I developed this fire in my belly to be somebody, to kind of prove people wrong. So I remember this story, actually, when I first joined the army, because I was like 16 or something. I came out, so I did 5 years, but within the first 32 weeks, I came out of school with no qualifications. And in the army, I came out with 6 qualifications in 32 weeks for spending time with them. So that was pretty, that was pretty phenomenal. And that was part of my journey. And I remember coming back into school, and when you finish your training, when you finished phase 1 training and you go to your regiment, it's very much identity based. So it's all around you belong, you're part of this identity. And a lot of teachers counted me out. And that's why I work now with coaches, with high achievers who deeply talented and gifted, but something's stopping them. So I help work out, getting that out of the way so they can go on to be exceptional. But cut long story short, I remember walking back into the staff room office after I finished as a professional soldier, and you have to go back and give a talk to your school, but they didn't know it was me coming in. And I walked into the staff room with my uniform on, with my hat on, and no one recognized me. And they said, "Oh, would you like a cup of tea?" And I took my hat off, and the whole staff room, obviously, they all written me off. They all said I was going to be a loser. I was never going to achieve anything in my life. And there I was, finished as a British soldier, just kind of sat there, took my hat off, and just watching people's behaviour. "Oh my God, it's great to see you. Oh, I'm glad you've done so well. Here's a nice." And I'm thinking to myself, hold on a minute. I've probably gone through the most grueling training. I've earned this. And a lot of you counted me out, and it was just that it was a good feeling, and I got to inspire some of the kids there. So that was part of the journey. Yeah. And then lucky enough to play semi-professional and professional rugby all over the world at a very, very high level against some great teams. And I was known really for scoring a lot. And that was initially part of my journey. And what happened is that when you're in these tribes, when you're in these kind of the military and in professional sport, it's a very masculine type environment. And yes, it achieves great results, but it's very identity based. You're in this tribe. And I realized when I finished rugby and when I finished the army, I had my kind of world come crashing down. All the fears, limitations, conditioned mind patterns that had been supported through being in these tribes. Now I was this lion in the jungle, exposed, vulnerable. I didn't have a tribe. I didn't belong anymore. So the constant question I was asking, who is Adrian? What am I here to do? What is my purpose? And it led me into then that kind of a real search to the work I was here to do. But then what I realized at that point is what happened was I went through almost like a big spiritual awakening, and it's been like I've had multiple type of awakenings. But my first one was I was a sales director for this company, and I delivered some great results. And one of the directors there didn't like that and kind of threatened me with my job. And I remember handing my notice in, and it was like the most empowering, freeing moment of my life, driving back up the motorway and feeling this huge release. Wow. And then it really, I got to search for my purpose, for why I'm actually here. So it led me into kind of looking at like NLP, mBIT, spiritual learnings. And I moved to this little island in the middle of Menorca. Life got too much for me. I achieved the rugby, I achieved the army, I achieved some great levels of success in coaching and in business, and it just all got too much from it. My identity almost crumbled, and I just thought, who am I? Where am I going to direct my life?
Yeah.
So that was a big piece. Going to Menorca, sitting there, reevaluating my life, look, and then imagining where I wanted to be, which is the work that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And realizing that if I'm going to be working with clients, if I'm going to be able to get to the level of success that I know I can do and really help and inspire others, that there was some fears, limitations, some conditioned things that I'd learned from childhood and all through my life, that I'm going to have to go straight into them. So I went to Menorca, had some time for reflection, worked with a coach. Then I came back and I worked with some, transformative coaches to really help me remove what was in the way. And it took, and I think what leads me to a big point that we always talk about is walking our talk and doing the work as coaches. There's a lot of coaches out there that haven't done the work, and that's okay, but it will never lead you to the depth of coaching you're looking for in your coaching sessions. So I spent probably about 3 or 4 years doing the work on myself,
wow,
getting some other stuff out of the way, but then not dwelling in that, but then rebuilding and redirecting my life, which led me to work with a coach for like a couple of years, gone through many, many seminars, and then through that learning the art of coaching. So there's nothing that I would experience in a coaching session or wouldn't ask my clients to do that I'd already done, because when I reflect on my life, the military, the rugby, learning, transformative coaching, doing the work on myself, and then also traveling the world doing that level of coaching, it's very important to be able to walk the talk with clients. So I've gone through a real range of ups and downs, and that journey never ends. But what you become more aware of is that you just become aware of those patterns that come to say hello and what they're communicating. So they become gifts and they become energy that you can use to drive you in the end. But initially you have to kind of dive in head first, and so that's the journey.
I love it, Adrian. I must tell you, well, I know you for a while now, and we had numerous discussions, and I've been on your podcast, you and my videos as well. And I heard parts of your story, but what you shared right now, this is so much into depth of your self-discovery, of your own journey, how to become a superhuman. Yeah. And I love the fact you refer so much to the seminars you went to, workshops, and the coaches you were working with, and that self-reflection. And I wonder, those people who are watching us right now, whether it is Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube at the minute, I would love to hear, can you relate to Adrian? Have you had the experiences of being bullied at school, maybe not knowing where you're going, or having these tough moments of self-realizations and thinking, where am I going? What am I going to do next? I really, really would love to hear. But actually, we have really good response here. People say they love it. They say lots of hellos. And actually, Adrian, as long as I know, you're based in London, right?
Yeah, Southwest.
Yeah, you're based in London. So I would love to hear where actually people are based, because we have lots of hellos here, but would love to find out where are they based, because I know that we have international audience here. And I love the comment from Mayo here. He says, Tanvir Raihan, he says, please discuss about self-development and potentiality building. Always love to read and listen to you, Olga. Oh, thank you so much. But yes, Adrian and I, this is exactly what we're going to talk today about, that personal development, your self-development, and how to become superhuman. And as you can hear already, Adrian, he's the best person to speak to because he walks his talk. He had his own journey, and it was a remarkable journey. I mean, it's quite scary to think, Adrian, what you went through. And do you mind if I ask you, how old are you? Because you're not obviously 50, and you discovered yourself already. How old are you?
37.
Oh, wow. And you already discovered yourself, and you already do what you do with the passion. This is so powerful, really powerful. I love the comment from Diana. She says about the school system. That's on YouTube, those who cannot see us on this comment on LinkedIn or Facebook. The school system really doesn't allow the space for young minds to learn how to think / explore. These are the skills that are needed. And this is so true. But did you struggle with learning these soft skills, which unfortunately we don't get the chance to learn in school? How did you manage to learn these new skills which are required for a superhuman? I get the coaching, you were transformed through coaching, but what else did you do to learn those soft skills which you need for superhuman?
Well, that back in school days or throughout the life, which part from school and now, or just through the whole journey, would you say?
I would say through the whole journey, yes. What did you get from the school would be really powerful to know, just in case of those who are watching us at school, so they don't think they shouldn't go to school. So let's help those who are still at school or still at university to see why it's still important to be at school, what they can learn from that.
On reflection now, it's looking at like how best you learn. You know, what's your learning strategy? Because some people might learn through writing down, through reflection, through feedback, through audio, through visual. So it's looking at when you learn, what learning fills you with the most sense of inspiration or makes you that feels good, because you're going to do more of that. So like, for instance, I was walking down to the park today to do a workout and I was listening to an audio on iBooks. That's on reflection, that is probably one of the best ways, video and audio, but other people might learn in different ways. It's working out how you learn and building that strategy in. I suppose when I was at school, I was a very creative person. So because I suffered from dyslexia, I saw the world slightly differently. So I enjoyed stuff like art, I enjoyed stuff like drama, I enjoyed stuff like sport. So the educational structure is set up in a way that it's not always aligned with how you best learn. So you've got to work out when you're learning in lessons, you know, how you can take in that information. So for instance, what I learned is that when I've got a big notebook, I can't learn by keep on writing down and filling the whole page up. So what I have to do sometimes is just write little like short anecdotes or like kind of little short sentences, because I could reflect what they mean. Whereas if I wrote loads of like content and specifics, then it would kind of overwhelm me. Whereas some kids could do that. I suppose one of the most important things that's overlooked is encouraging children to get into sport, to get into martial arts, to get into that kind of expression. And if I had a kid now and they went to school, I wouldn't necessarily focus too much on pushing them academically, because this is my personal experience, is that yes, it's useful when you get into the real world, but what's more useful is the trials and tribulations you went through for learning a sport, the scuffed knees that you got, the experiences, the bloody noses, that type of thing. I know it sounds quite out there, but that's where you really truly learn. Because remember, we learn through challenge. Some of our biggest lessons we've learned in life are through challenge, and some of our biggest things we've learned in life are through things that we love. So I think it's important to have a combination of both, because when you go out into the real world, what's going to stand you in good stead that time when you got back up again off the rugby pitch, or challenged on the 800 meters, or learning what algebra means, what's going to really stand you in good stead. So I think it's a balance between both. I think you've got to have academia and learning something that you're inspired to learn, and taking a career or a degree that you're inspired to do, and also doing something that challenges you, whether that's a creative passion or sport, something along those lines.
Yeah, I love what you mentioned there, because once you learn how to learn best, then you can learn anything you want. But you got to learn how do you learn best. And actually, I can relate to you, Adrian. I was never diagnosed with dyslexia, but I do find it much easier to write little things and to have quite big gaps in between writing, and also either draw or something, because that just memorized a lot better than when you just keep writing. So that's remarkable. Oh my God, you had so many challenges, including dyslexia. And actually, what you just said refers to Diana's question. How did you manage not to give up on yourself at school or just after school? What do you think sparked your desire for more? I mean, especially with dyslexia, Adrian, what was that thing that kept you going?
It was an interesting one. I remember, I don't know whether it might be proving somebody wrong, but I can remember sitting on the playground and looking around at the other kids and not saying like I'm better than you or anything like that, but just getting a deep sense that I'm different, that I'm here to do something different. I kind of could have it. And if I reflect back, it may be a spiritual thing, or I can remember sitting, daydreaming, or just having these serendipitous moments at school. They're very vivid and very real for me, thinking, I'm here to do something different. I don't quite fit in. I'm a bit of a misfit. Yeah. And I remember as a kid, my granddad, Hales, who spent a lot of time bringing me up, spent a lot of time with him, and he had this big house, but he was like kind of a very reflective man, and like a good mentor, a good leader. And he used to walk me across the fields, and we used to walk in the long grass for a long period of time. So he used to take me off the beaten track, and he used to get me to walk in this long grass. And he said, now reflect back, so turn around after you've walked in the long grass. And we used to see all the grass that's been walked on. And he said, make sure that whatever you do in your life, you walk your own path. Don't walk the path that everybody else has trodden. And I suppose at some level that was conditioned, because that was a story he always used to tell me. And I was a bit of a rebel, so I just thought, as much as I did follow the path of that society wanted me to go down, or that people go in society, it was always pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And now it leads me to actually do my own path. So it is a real journey. But I think it was a real fire in my belly from having to have a supply teacher sat next to me saying that that's right, that's wrong, and I just this energy to just be somebody that drove me. And I can remember when I was a small boy, I was always encouraged to be resilient and to keep moving and keep pushing forward. So it was kind of a theme of my family, because both my granddad and great granddad were in the World War and stuff like that, and went through hard times. And it's just kind of been passed on, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess it is, because when you grow up and you hear the stories from your great parents, what they went through, when you actually grow up with somebody like your granddad who is taking you and he's showing you a real example, this information really settles. It really settles, and it actually molds you and shapes you in who you are later on. Yeah. It's quite remarkable to have had really amazing granddad and grandma who actually probably told you lots of stories. And I wish to learn about them. I wish to hear them, but we have to be mindful of the time. Maybe another time. Maybe another time. But actually, we have here a really interesting question on LinkedIn from Mark Whitfield. And I wonder what you're going to say about this, Adrian, because this is quite contradictory. Why do people need to be superhuman?
Why do people need to be superhuman? Yeah. Well, of course, they don't have to be. And what I would say to that is that superhuman really is about acknowledging your talents, gifts, and abilities, and your strengths, and the work that you were born to do. Yeah. So my view is if we've settled in life and we're okay with being mediocre and we just want to go through life on autopilot, there's no need to be kind of superhuman or express those superhuman talents, gifts and abilities to the world that deep down that we know we're here to bring. So the people that do go on a self-discovery journey to find out the work that they were born to do, the inspiring work that's going to fulfill them at the deepest level, then through that process, as you know, challenging your fears, being vulnerable, being courageous as you go on your journey, because you want to become a better coach to be able to serve your clients the highest way possible. Yeah. That's why if you choose that journey, you need to become superhuman.
I love that. I think it's a very good answer. And I love what you said, that it's a choice. You don't have to be superhuman, but you choose to be. In that case, have your journey and work on yourself. And this is so important to remember. And I must say, when some clients are coming to me and they say, well, all my life, I was just a mom. And I always say, no, never, absolutely never consider yourself as just somebody.
Yeah.
You could be just a mom, but that just a mom probably raised the most remarkable child who invented something extraordinary and changed the world.
Yeah.
Nobody is only just a mom or just a teacher or a plumber. Everybody's playing a really important part in society and also part in everybody's life. But it's what we think. But I like what you mentioned there as well. If you choose to live mediocre life, and I think that could be quite edgy because understanding of mediocre life for many people is so different. What mediocre life for one person is not mediocre life for others. So what would you say there are main things where people should strive for or be more, like how they could actually start stepping away from the life they have right now, whether it is mediocre or not? That's entirely up to everyone. But what they could do, what they could start doing in order to step out of that life what they have right now?
Well, I think the most important thing, and when we address mediocre, what I'm suggesting is that deep down that we know that we're here, we have some talents, we have some strengths and abilities to bring to the world. So we can reflect on our life when we get to 80 or 90 and say, I made a difference to the world. And what I mean by mediocre is, because I've also been there as well, where I'd kind of, through fear, through not knowing what to do, that something was stopping me, I might have settled and put up with a situation for many years or a period of time. So by that very definition, I would class that as not, I wouldn't say reaching your potential, but not doing the work, not fulfilling the reason that you're actually born. So at some level, mediocre is an example of settling for a life less than you're capable of living. So I would say, what I would say to the people that, are looking to change, the most important thing is first of all, you've got to pause. You've got to take time out for some self-reflection and ask some questions around, where are you going?
Yeah.
And if you were to live the rest of your life honoring what's most important to you, how would you live? If you remove the melodrama, what remains that's still important? What gives your life a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose? And are you living that now? If so, what excuses might you be holding on to? Excuses that if you let go, that allow you to move forward. What are your strengths? What are your talents? Are they at play? Are they at play now, or are you suppressing them and settling for a salary, for instance? That you've got this balance between economics and authenticity. Have you put up with something for 5-10 years because you're on like 120 grand, knowing deep down that you're born for more? You keep the money as a justification to follow that, to follow that passion. So those are some questions to consider. But the most important thing is understanding where are you going.
Love that. Love that. And the most beautiful thing about understanding where you're going is this is such an ongoing process. It's not the end of destination. It's almost like when we go traveling, we'll always end up being back home. Always. Doesn't matter where you go. Doesn't matter if it is a long journey or a short journey. If it is a day trip or it is like a month being away from home. Your end destination is always back home. And when we focus all our attention on like, oh, I need to become that person, I need to become a person, you miss out on that journey, which could be the most fascinating journey ever in your life.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah.
And I would say we always speak about this is that a lot of people try and do it themselves. But what happens is when we try and do it all ourselves, there's blind spots of things that we can't see. And getting a coach like Olga or myself or someone that you resonate with, they're going to be able to push you beyond those fears and self-imposed limitations. And once those things are out the way, what's stopping you, then you can go on to progressing and evolving on the other side of those. So that's why coaching is so powerful, because it really helps you evolve and progress and transform your life if that's something you want.
Exactly. And I love that if it's something you want, because yes, it is powerful. Why all these athletes and also Olympic champions and football players, why they all have a coach? Because they know they need to be stretched, they need to be pushed. So yeah, the answer is there, of course. But actually, I really love the comment here from Howard on YouTube. The biggest regret is the feeling that you have not fulfilled your potential in life.
Yeah.
This is so scary.
When we go back to that mediocre, it just means an average. It means average. It's a great point from Howard, because often when we're living in that mediocre, the hamster wheel type of life, and I've been there. I've been in a corporate company where I've done that and I've settled, and then you get to a point where you look at what do you want your legacy to be in life, and where are you going, and what's your vision, and what are you tolerating, and because we're defined by our standards. So what are we accepting? What are we tolerating in our life? And what is our vision for our life if we were living and honoring what's most important? And how do we raise our standards in order to get to that point?
Love that. And this is so powerful. Absolutely. And I admire what you say there, because everybody is different, and we have to understand that everybody will have different opinions, different journeys, different past, different regrets, different goals and everything else. So it is about respecting each other, respecting each other's spaces, but knowing what we want, where we want to get. And if we don't get there, are we going to regret it? I can't remember who exactly said that. Oh, it's such a pity, I can't remember that. But somebody said, when you will die, your dreams will die with you. Maybe it was Les Brown.
Les Brown.
Yeah, probably. I love Les Brown. And he said, when you die, your dreams die with you. And this is so scary to think about, because you came to this world because there is something special. And the more challenges you had within your life, like you had lots of challenges, Adrian, at school, dyslexia, and later on in life, I had my own journey as well. And I believe the more challenges you had, that means the greater gift you have.
I agree. Because within that, something kind of opens up within you, and you discover this kind of unconscious, this gift that just you can bring to the world, whatever that is. It becomes developed, and you're expressing, you're giving that out, to the world. So that's an important piece. And to go back on is, hopefully all the people watching this podcast are watching this live at some level. They want to express a talent, express a strength, maybe start a business. So I'm presupposing that all people listening to this podcast at some level, they want some change in their life. And the interesting thing is since I've gone on the podcasts and I've worked with coaching clients, a lot of them are just normal humans. Like, I'm just a normal human being. Everyone's just a normal human being.
Yeah.
But the big theme in those stories, there was a turning point. So there was something that happened to them that made them change and to go, right, I demand more of myself. I've had enough of this situation. I want to do this. I'm creating that change. It's time to go. And the people there that are vulnerable, as you said, and courageous in doing that are the ones that will progress on their path towards more fulfilling work and inspiring work and the life that they imagined. But I've also seen a lot of people that constantly get that message, and those moments, that time to change constantly happens to them, and they get that message repeatedly, and they go on and ignore those messages. And as Howard said, in the end of your life, you'll only go on regretting. And if you ever watched a Derren Brown episode about the lucky dog, have you watched it?
No, I don't think so.
So basically, this is a great instance of people that are open to change and opportunities and look at that opportunity and either make a decision to move forward on it and go, okay, not now. And people that have an opportunity constantly to change and they don't recognize it. So Derren Brown goes onto this show, and he sends reporters into this town to send a message around that there's a lucky dog in the park. The whole villagers go into this town and start patting the dog on the head. Because they have that self-belief that the dog is lucky, they start to get luck in their life, right? They start winning lottery tickets, people becoming better, and they attribute to this dog. Cut long story short, there's a guy who's a butcher, and Derren Brown sets up 4 different instances to show that he's lucky, because every time the reporter goes in, he's like, oh, I've got bad luck, and stuff like this. So they put a scratch card for his door, and if he scratched it off, he won a widescreen TV. So it went through the door and he chucked it in the bin. Then he's a butcher, so they set up a survey outside his shop that if you named 3 cuts of beef, you'd get 20 quid. And then he said, oh, sorry, love, can I come back to you? She said, excuse me, sir, can you answer this survey? He said, oh, I haven't got time at the moment, see you later, and he walked off. Yeah. Then they sellotape a £50 note to the floor next to his butcher shop, and he walked straight past it until they got to a point where they did this massive sign that walked past and said, call this number. So he called the number. He said, hi, it's Derren Brown. I've been waiting for you. And he showed them all the instances. And it was interesting because what happened is the whole village thought about this lucky dog. Derren Brown announced this, that he'd been doing all this to everybody in the town hall. And what he did, he said, look, you can bet an amount of money in this box in the village. Whoever bats the highest amount of money gets to roll a dice 3 times. If your number comes out within any of those 3 rolls, I 5x your money or 10x your money. So he got all the votes in, and guess who put the most amount of money in out of everyone in the town? The butcher.
Yes.
So he put £1,000, which was his life savings, on the roll of 3 dice, and it goes along this massive kind of runway. And then on the 3rd dice, he rolled the number that he said he was going to roll, and he won £5,000. So it's a very nice story to there's many people out there who are getting signs that it's time to change, and we either listen to those and change, or the same experience will keep on repeating, and we have the power to change.
I love that. And Adrian, you just said something so profound. So many people that even say this phrase, oh, unless I'm kicked out of job, I don't really change job. It's like, well, I'm sure there were some signs before, or in relationships. How many red flags people have, and they still carry on until something needs to happen, something really drastic and scary and sometimes even violent, and only then they leave. But actually, signs are always there. I love that story. It would be really good, Adrian, if you could maybe share with me the link so we can share under the video on YouTube, Facebook, and also LinkedIn for people to watch that. Just if somebody wants more inspiration, would love to. I will also watch it myself.
The whole series. It's a whole episode, I think, like 50 minutes.
Wow.
But a good barometer to check whether if you're in a relationship or you're in a relationship with somebody, if you're in a business or if you're self-employed, and a good barometer to know that it's time to change depends, how do you feel around somebody? Do you feel inspired? Do you feel encouraged? Do you feel good, like I'm having a conversation with Olga? Or over time, have you felt like there's something not quite right? And that's communicating something to you to decide or to speak out or to say something. And that is all good. A lot of people think we get feedback externally from other people, but our emotions, our feelings, our intuition is really good feedback. But a lot of the times we don't sit down and say, what's being communicated? What is this telling me? And if we can do that, it gives us a nice segue or a nice angle to what to do next.
100%. And people can call it whatever they want: intuition, sixth sense, gut speaking, whatever. People refer differently to that. But the main point here is trusting yourself enough to listen to that inner voice.
Yeah.
Because that inner voice will never let you down.
Mm.
Love that. But do you think listening to that inner voice or intuition or gut feeling, do you think it's also part of becoming superhuman, or it's not really important? What would you say on that?
I would say 100%. And from an mBIT perspective, because obviously I teach mBIT, which is learning how to communicate with our multiple intelligences. So using whole body communication, and it's something that we both coach with, is using the whole body as a system. And I would say that we get sensations, we get emotions, we get feelings, and learning how to where they're coming from and what they're communicating is very important. So obviously the mind is very good at making stories, cognitive perception, thinking and meaning making, but it's not great at creating that level of change and understanding what's going on, because of course motions come from our heart area and our gut area, and they're constantly being communicated to the mind, but the mind creates the meaning. So often if we feel a conflict within our heart, often what that can be is how we're connecting with others. So our relational effect. So how are we relating to others? How are we connecting with others? It's our feelings and emotions. The electromagnetic field from the heart goes out and it covers. We can feel things about 6 feet away. Mm-hmm. So if you're sat on a bus, you can tell if someone's sat like 6 seats away, if they're friendly or if they're not. And that's because the heart's electromagnetic field. But the heart is also there for our values. So what's most important to us in the area of our life, and also what we desire. The highest expression of the heart is compassion. Mm-hmm. So it presupposes that when we're at our best, our highest expression, we are the most compassionate to self and other. And then if you make it down to the gut area, core identity is there. So who are we really? Who are we being? Who are we supposed to be? And what are we compelled to do? What are we motivated to create and to take action on is also from a gut perspective. And the highest expression of the gut is courage. The highest expression of the mind is creativity. So in answer to your question around being superhuman to understand what's going on, I would say yes, and learning what's being communicated, because once we can get perspectives internally, it can inform us making better decisions. Whereas if we're stressed, we're angry, we're frustrated, we're anxious, we're going to make one of the intelligences is going to override. And some good ways of doing that is self-reflection, asking some different questions, and also taking time out for stillness, meditation, as you do walking in parks, because when we're able to do that, the gut's able to digest, to settle, the heart's able to balance itself out, and you open up a space, and then insights come, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Well, that's because your heart and your gut area, that area is communicating something to your brain, and you just know that it's the right thing to do.
Love that. You just described it in the most beautiful way. And I just hope that everybody will really pay attention to that. And actually, Ahmed Raza on YouTube says, very good tips, Adrian. So we're doing great here. It's Fabulous, fabulous. The people like it. I love it. But Adrian, could you please tell us more with whom, what kind of people do you work? Because I really admire your work, but could you please tell us more, like if people would like to get in touch with you, is the specific number of people you work with? Should be they from specific industry? Should they have specific goals? Like what type of people do you work normally with? Maybe you can share some success stories.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a favorite story of yours.
I think from a coaching perspective, my past clients have been like kind of exec direct level, who's senior executive in like a FTSE 250 business, but that also has a creative passion on the side. I've worked with professional actors who have gone on to achieve like film awards. I've worked with kind of entrepreneur coaches, self-employed females. I've also worked with guys who are younger. So I've worked with all type of ages, but there's a theme that deep down they feel called to do some kind of deep, meaningful work. They feel inspired to follow their higher purpose, that they desire life to be different. They've imagined this vision for their life, but fear, lack of self-confidence, self-belief is stopping them from doing that. So it's like every time they go to take action on something or move towards that, they experience that they're stuck. And my coaching specifically is focused on working in a gentle way, working in a challenging way, working in a transformative way, removing some of those barriers. So once we've moved those barriers out of the way, then we can work on exactly what they desire most in life. We can get them to walk towards that. So some of the success stories that I've had, I've worked with a sales director who had a desire to build a coaching business on the side. They're constantly achieving their sales number, and I'm helping them build a coaching business on the side where they've done talks now in front of over 1,000 people. Wow. So they had a big fear, like confidence issue. So now they're actually coaching and also doing speaking. I've worked with specifically people, again, as I say, for the coaching angle, helping them build out their coaching business. And trying to think what else, some other examples of that. I've worked with someone who's a coach and found it very difficult to relate to people. And when we discovered what that was, it was a lack of self-confidence and some experiences they had in the past with relationships, which really got them opening up and doing powerful coaching sessions, how they could relate to people, but it also affected all the relationships in their life. They could never get that true depth of connection with other people, and it left them feeling like a deep sense of anxiety. Once we moved that out, they got more coaching clients. They got a new job, and their relationship went from strength to strength. They started posting more pictures of them and their partner, and that was an interesting thing. And then I've also worked with a few younger people who are looking at kind of career changes. But what I find there is they have some deep fears around communicating with more senior people. How do I communicate? How do I express my needs? So I've been working a lot on them with communication. But I suppose the theme is looking at those people who want a different life, who want to step up and lead, who are a visionary, who doesn't want to settle for a life that they might have got now, and they're committed to creating the life on their terms. So helping them do that, really.
I love that. That's a beautiful example, and it just shows how you don't have to be at specific level, or you don't have to be in specific industry doing a specific job in order to work with somebody to get better like yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's not about where you are right now. It's about where you want to get and how you want to work on yourself.
Yeah.
So
And
profound.
I find once we get to that root of self-confidence, that self-belief, once that's out of the way, when I look at my clients and speak with my clients after that's happened, there's this confidence is just like this energy. They've got a new energy. Like they look different. Their skin tone is different. How they communicate is different. They just go on then to just achieve the results they want to in their business, in their careers, in their life, and it requires less guidance. They can almost self-coach. They understand their patterns. They understand what's being communicated, and they're just progressing on their own steam. It's like a completely different person. So yeah, and I just love in a coaching session is getting to the part where the client has realized that the old story starts to disappear, and they have this kind of sudden smile or moment of realization. I remember working with a client once who suffered from anxiety for a few years, and I remember the coaching session when there was like a release of that person realized that anxiety was such a weight that's been holding them down, and then it just lifted, and then they shed a tear in sort of taking them through a kind of guided coaching process, and then that person's gone on to create their own amazing group, work with clients. It's got this new sense of energy, and that's why I do what I do, for those, to help people with those moments, really.
Love that. I have a tricky question for you here, because I get the passion and I love the way what you talk about here, the clients and successes, because, well, I'm in the same field, and I know how you feel. It's really rewarding. But Adrian, what if somebody will tell you, that's it, you can't do coaching anymore? You can't. You can do anything else in the world, but not coaching. What would you do?
Well, you know what I'd do? I would just create these, I would either do podcasts or create guided meditations, like transformative meditations, where people could just listen to them and get a different outlook on life.
Yeah.
So I would probably look at ways of doing it through audio or recorded. But you said I can't do coaching, right? Interesting. Maybe a teacher. I'd like to be maybe a teacher or a speaker. Do more. Obviously, I do speaking now, but do more speaking.
Yeah.
So, what about you? What would you do if you couldn't do coaching?
No, you can't ask me this question, Adrian. That's not fair. You can't copy my question. No, but actually, that's a good question, and you see, it's quite tricky to answer, because when you have so much satisfaction for what you do, and you have these tears of joy when people tell you the stories and they come back with remarkable results. I cannot imagine doing anything else in life. Yeah. But actually, I do have other two passions, and this is traveling and photography. Yeah, right. But you see, traveling is rewarding because you learn and you explore and you take pictures. It is rewarding, but it's not that rewarding. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I enjoy doing my speaking as well, because it's in that case, it's not one-to-one anymore. It's one-to-many, and it transforms lives during the event or during the workshop, during the seminar, whatever it is. So it is really rewarding. So let's say if I can't do coaching and I can't do speaking, I probably would be really bored. I probably would go traveling and I would take pictures, but I think inevitably I would just end up doing what I do, because amount of people I would literally coach somewhere on the beach, on the train, on the plane, because I can, and because it's natural. It comes out so effortlessly that you don't even think about, I need to put my coaching hat. No, it's there all the time. And that's the challenge sometimes. But yeah, something like you, I would probably struggle to find something else, because it's so rewarding and there's so much passion, and it's so transformational, not only for people who come to work with us, but also, and I'm sure probably you experience the same, it's also transformational for me, because very often when I work with clients and I will say something, I will challenge somehow, and I will realize, that's the message for me as well. And this is the most profound thing. When you're discussing something what clients are experiencing and you think, I think I found something here. And this is so interesting. Do you have this moment sometimes?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously when we work with clients, they're going to reflect back things that we might need to pay attention to. So that's always quite interesting. Because often we work with clients where we might have struggled with something, so we tend to attract clients where the journey that we've gone on. So sometimes when we work with clients and we go to and get into what's stopping them, that then just re-triggers and mirrors back those things that we might have struggled with as well. But if you think about from a spiritual perspective, we're all connected at some level. We're all connected, and of course they say you see yourself 10,000 times in this lifetime or something like that, or reflections of yourself. So a lot of the time people that we meet are reflections of either our fears or reflections of the things that inspire us most. So yeah, I do experience those the same as you as well. And I think I've spoke to a lot of coaches in seminars, and everyone will probably agree with, at some level you do experience that coach.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. But thank you for sharing your thoughts on this, because I think you're right. You just somehow attract people who need help, which you already either received or you had the journey, and now you actually can pass it on. Really powerful. And actually, Adrian, we have here suggestions who we can be if we are not coaches anymore.
Right.
So YouTube, those who are not on YouTube, is on YouTube. He says, Adrian as a teacher. Yes, I can see that. A journalist for CNN. I guess we have new jobs.
You could be like April O'Neil from the Turtles. Have you ever seen the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Oh no!
There's a lady called April O'Neil who's quite, like a really lovely person, and she's like the journalist on that program as well. So you could be April O'Neil.
Oh, I need to definitely find out and check it out. But Adrian, it was such a wonderful discussion. I'm so grateful for your wisdom today, because what you shared here today, in order to become a superhuman, it is about learning, self-reflection, and growing all the time, whether it is with the seminar, self-learning and self-help books, coaching, which is really powerful. It is about seeing where you would like to get, and in order to close the gap, just keep working on yourself.
I agree, and also Superhuman is an expression of part of my journey, and allowing my talents to to flourish. So I recognise them once they're applied, as they can be seen to be a superhuman gift or a superhuman power. So it's a play on the words, because what superhuman means to me means something completely different to everybody else. But the reason I chose that word is because it's got so much meaning in it. People can put what it means to them and straight away recognize what it might be like to be superhuman in their life. So straight away, that word is full of possibilities, and that's why I used it.
And I love that. And that was the perfect choice of words. Absolutely perfect. But thank you so much, Adrian. Everybody who was with us here, thank you so much, whether it was Facebook you were with us, or maybe LinkedIn or YouTube. Thank you so very much for staying with us until the very end. Thank you for your comments and participation, all your compliments. Adrian, please go back and check out comments, because there's so many beautiful thank yous and so many great comments. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to read them all, but I did my best to actually address those questions. Yeah. So really interesting. And here, actually, Howard says, outstanding interview as always. Thank you both. And Andy says, hey guys, Andy here. Hello, thank you for coming in. But yes, thank you everybody who was with us. It was a joy having you all. And Adrian, a really special thank you for sharing all your wisdom, giving your time, your knowledge to all of us, and sharing your beautiful energy. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. And well done for everybody for investing your time listening to us. You're to be commended for, investing that time in your own personal development. So well done.
Oh, I love that. You are so right. Adrian, as always, another wisdom from you. Yes, thank you for investing the time into yourself. Thank you. Thank you all.